Is breaking the rules always seen as a bad thing in interviews? And did you know that they're asking this in more than 60% of job interviews? Tell me about a time when you broke the rules. Can you share? You shouldn't share, because that could get you rejected. Be very careful. I'm going to give you all the details in this video. Hi, how are you? I'm Romulo Gutierrez. This is the Job Room channel. I've been a recruiter and talent selector for 27 years, and in the first part of this video, I'm going to tell you what to watch out for with this question. A question that trips up a lot of candidates in job interviews when they ask you, tell me about a time you broke the rules. I'll explain what you need to be careful about. And in part B, I'll give you 2 sample answers, okay? Where you can answer safely and get approved. Let's go. Caution, this is a trap question. Usually, the manager or recruiter asks this as a real trap, okay? In reality, they're looking for a reason to eliminate you. It's not that they want to eliminate you, but they want to check if you have any misconduct, any ethical deviations, or any behavior that doesn't align with the company's culture. So they often throw out this question as a real trap. Tell me about a time you broke the rules for the sake of good results. And that's why I'm giving you this tip, so you can be very careful. That's why, stay tuned for part B of the video, where I'll give you 2 sample answers, okay? What should you watch out for? Be careful not to lose the balance between results and ethics, all right? In other words, the question is much more about your ethics, character, and morals in your professional conduct than about the results themselves. In other words, normally, and I'll explain the exceptions to the rule, normally saying, oh yes, sometimes I had to break the rules to achieve, for example, increase my sales numbers. Since I was below my targets as a manager, and the rules I broke with this rule, that rule, and this rule, and that really helped the results. Usually, they're working in a disguised way by asking you something like, are you an ethical person? Do you fulfill your obligations? But if they ask you like that, you'll say, of course I am. I'm very ethical. I'm very, very correct in everything I do. So they change the way they ask, and that's why I'm recording this video, okay? Actually, they ask if you've ever broken the rules for the sake of results. So, in general, it's not a good idea to say that you've broken the rules to achieve good results. Like I said, the question is much more about ethics and morals than about results themselves, okay? If you say, for example, that you don't break the rules and the recruiter or the manager keeps insisting, don't change your answer, stick to your position. So, I'll give you an example. If you realize at that moment, wait for the 2 sample answers I'm going to give in a bit, and part B of the video, and everything will become clearer. But let's suppose you chose to say, look, at no point in my professional career have I ever intentionally broken the rules to achieve results. On the contrary, I'm a professional who tries to follow all the rules, to do everything the company sets for me, because I believe that the rules themselves are what ensure results. So, I don't usually, or I don't ever break the rules to get good results. Now, let's suppose the manager or recruiter insists and says, okay, I get it, but tell me about a time when maybe a client made a request or even your own boss asked for something and you broke the rules. So, what's my advice? He already understood your answer, but he keeps, let's say, trying to make you slip up. And my advice is to stick to your answer. Look, honestly, that's not something I do. I don't break rules just to get results. So you should stand your ground, okay? An important point here that might come up as an exception, and I'll give you some sample answers in a minute, okay? Which is, before any interview, pay close attention to the company's culture. Identify the characteristics of the company's cultural fit. After all, usually the company's own culture will tell you whether breaking rules there is acceptable or if it's considered a bad thing, okay? 95% of companies, even if they do break the rules on their social pages and to the public, they'll say they don't break rules. So it's important that you align your answer much more with what the company claims to be, okay? Rather than, suddenly, things that are just in your head. Now in part B, I'm going to give you 2 sample answers and 1 example where you can even say you broke a rule. Stick around and you'll understand everything. Before I continue, if you want to simulate an interview, practice a live and online interview, and get feedback on whether you did well, did poorly, or where you can improve your interview, you can contact me on WhatsApp at the number on the screen, international code 5511977065 and the WhatsApp link is in the first comment of this video or in the description. Just click the link and message me directly. The prices are low for subscribers of the Job Room channel. Here, the videos never fail and never run out. There are new videos every Wednesday. So, everything about the job market and job interviews goes through Job Room here on YouTube. So, subscribe and leave your like. Let's go. 2 response models. I'm going to give you a model that I believe should be used about 90% of the time, depending on what you've observed in the job description and in the company's values statement and the company's cultural fit. So I could say, he asks me, Romulo, have you ever broken rules at your last company for the sake of results? Tell us how it happened. Look at how he's leading me toward a certain answer. And then I would say, honestly, I don't break any kind of rule. On the contrary, I believe that ethics and fulfilling one's duty should come before any result. So, I'm a professional who follows all the rules, delivers results, but always within what's established. So, if you hire me, you can rest assured that you will have a professional who goes after results, but always respects all the rules. That's a good example of an answer. Now, the exception model you can use is when you actually broke the rules. I'll give you an example in a very specific situation, in a very specific field, okay? Hypothetically, in this example, I'm a teacher and I'm looking after kids who are on a field trip, at a farm, okay? And then I could say, look, I never break the rules. I follow all the rules set by the school. But there was a moment when I was looking after 30 kids on a farm, and I noticed that one of the kids slipped away from the group and ran toward the pool, and the pool was really deep. I had strict orders never to leave the children alone at any time, even if we were in an enclosed area on the farm. At that moment, when I saw that the child could drown, I asked the oldest child to watch over the others and I ran, maybe 30 or 40 seconds. I broke the rule to grab Mariana, for example, who was already very close to the pool. And I grabbed Mariana, right, because she was about to fall into the pool. It would have been very dangerous, and I brought her back to the group of children. That was one time I broke the rules precisely to protect someone's life. So you see, it's really an exception, something that can't be common, okay? There is a valid reason for doing this. But as I said, 95% of the time, say that you don't break the rules. And there's a question that trips up a lot of candidates in interviews, which is actually the most asked question in job interviews. Tell me a little about yourself. A lot of people don't have a good script for this, and I left a complete script with explanations so you can give a great answer to this tell me about yourself question. Go check it out. It's excellent preparation for your interview. Take care and see you next time. Bye-bye.